Good morning. Oh, we served coffee today. Good morning. If you're just coming in, please help yourself to breakfast. There are a couple of tables in the back. You can sit at that table. Go right ahead. Yep. Wherever you see a seat, go ahead and take it. Good morning and a warm welcome to our colleagues joining us virtually. I'm Dr. Andrea Guzman, and I serve as your Vice President for Access and Community Engagement. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the 4th Academic Excellence Symposium for faculty and staff. By show of hands, how many of you have attended more than one academic symposium? All right, how many have attended all 4? Okay, there's a few. How many are here for the first time? That's great. We're very happy to have you. Over the years, this gathering has become an intentional space for reflection, learning, and connection. A place where we come together around a shared commitment to student success for all students, regardless of background, pathway, or lived experience. At its core, this symposium has always been about how we as faculty and staff cultivate environments where students can learn, grow, and thrive. It's about strengthening academic excellence by ensuring that talent, potential, and perspectives are recognized wherever they are found. About fostering a culture where varied viewpoints and experiences are welcomed, where curiosity is encouraged, and where the marketplace of ideas is not only protected, but actively engaged. That work remains essential, and it remains deeply aligned with our mission as an institution. Whether you are here in person or joining us virtually, your presence reflects a shared belief that academic excellence is not static. It is shaped by thoughtful teaching, intentional support, meaningful engagement, and our willingness to learn from one another. It is now my honor to invite our provost, Dr. John Bookwalter, to the stage for a formal welcome to help frame our day together. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Bookwalter.
Guess I don't need to go behind the chairs. Thank you. Well, good morning. I am so excited to be here and welcome you, as Dr. Guzman said, to the 4th Annual Academic Excellence Symposium, a space where we can come together around what matters most is really our shared commitment to student success. And let me say right from the beginning that I genuinely appreciate your willingness to take time out of your day and alter your schedule to be here for this symposium. I don't take for granted your time. I myself am double booked today, but this is such an important event that I didn't want to miss a chance to be able to welcome you here. And when you think about what brings us together here today, it's not just a symposium or a program on a calendar, but really a shared commitment, a steady, deeply held commitment to our students and to the work that helps them succeed. I've said it numerous times since I've arrived at UCF, what really attracted me to this institution when I was thinking about making a move was its deep commitment to student success. And I want to say this plainly from the outset, you matter. The work that you do matters, the care that you bring to students matters, and the impact you make, sometimes quietly, without a lot of fanfare or recognition, really matters. You shape the lives of students in ways that you may never fully appreciate or be able to see, but hear me when I say that you are impacting students in their pathways every day. Student success doesn't just live in one part of this institution. It really is everybody's responsibility. It's shaped by faculty innovation, staff expertise, leadership, and the way we align to work across the institution. When we talk about academic excellence at UCF, we're talking about something that's not abstract. We're talking about real work, what we do in the classrooms, advising offices, labs, studios, online spaces, in conversations that really are never going to appear on a syllabus or in a strategic plan. Academic excellence lives in the choices that you make every day. How you design a course, how you reach out to a student who's struggling, how you rethink an assignment, how you collaborate across roles and units, and how you stay engaged even when the work is really, really hard. There's another aspect of this that I want to make sure you hear loud and clear. Academic excellence also lives in how you hold the students accountable and how you hold each other accountable every day. That's why I'm especially appreciative of everybody in this room. The impact that you have on students is built day by day through choices that may feel small in the moment, but matter enormously as they add up over time. Our students may not remember every theory or every formula that they learn in the classroom, but they will remember the impact that you've had, how you made them feel heard, seen, how you encouraged them when things got hard not to give up, and how you helped them succeed. This year's theme, Transforming Teaching and Learning, Advancing Student Success for the Next Generation, is both ambitious and grounded. It reminds us of that transformation doesn't always come from sweeping gestures. More often it comes from a sustained effort through thoughtful reflection and a willingness to try something new in the service of students. And one thing I know at UCF we're able to do is try new things and be innovative. The work is strongest when it's formed by evidence, reflection, and what we're learning together about what actually helps students succeed. This event is designed to give you the space to do exactly that. You'll engage in sessions that focus on high-impact practices, accessibility, student veterans transition, emotional intelligence, safety, and responsible use of AI, which is an emerging technology which perfectly aligns with our bold trajectory as Florida's premier engineering and technology university. These different topics, different approaches are all connected by the same question: how do we better support students in a world that they're actually inhabiting and living in? I also want to acknowledge that there are many people who made this day possible. This symposium doesn't just happen by chance or without thoughtful stewardship. And the work of many people brought this together. But I want to thank two people in particular. Thank you, Dr. Andrea Guzman and Dr. Adwana Andrews, for your leadership, care, and vision in shaping this event. You all have stewarded this symposium with intention, centering student success, elevating faculty and staff voices, and creating a space for honest and sometimes tough conversations. I'm also deeply grateful to all the planners, facilitators, speakers, and organizers, the work that has been done behind the scenes to help put this together. As provost, I have the privilege of seeing UCF from a wide vantage point. What I see again and again is a community that is really dedicated to student success, that is willing to meet the students where they're at and to help support them in individual ways. Today is an important moment to reflect, but it's also an important point to launch new ideas and practices that you'll carry back when you work with students. Let me end by saying, so you can get to the more important work than listening to me, that my hope today is simple. Leave here today with a new idea, a new connection, and/or a renewed sense of purpose. My wish is for each of you to feel affirmed in the work that you're already doing and energized to keep going forward together. Thank you for being here once again. Thank you for what you do for our students, day in and day out. I'm grateful to be part of this community with you, and I'm honored to welcome you to this Academic Excellence Symposium. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Buckwalter. I know you have a busy schedule today, so we definitely appreciate you being here. I was once preparing for a commencement speech, and I was really nervous about it, and they told me, most people will only remember 2 or 3 things that you say. So I hope you remember everything that the provost said, but one of the pieces that stuck out to me, actually there were a couple of pieces. One was that sometimes the work is hard. It's not always easy. And when we reflect on what's occurred over the last couple of years in higher education, it has been hard. The second piece that really stuck with me is that you matter. The work you do matters. And I appreciate Dr. Buckwalter making an emphasis on that because we don't always hear that. And the third piece is not only that you matter, but the work that you do also matters, that it has a lasting impact on our students. So thank you. And I hope that you carry that with you from Provost's remarks this morning. At this time, I'd like to transition to our morning featured session, Night Reels. Night Reels offers us something that data points and strategic plans alone cannot: the lived experiences of students and alumni. These stories remind us why our work matters, not in the abstract, but in deeply personal ways. They reflect persistence, growth, and the many paths students take as they navigate higher education. They also remind us that when we create learning environments where students feel seen, intellectually challenged, and supported, the impact can extend far beyond the classroom. As you watch these live reels, I invite you to listen not just as faculty or staff, but as people, reflecting on how your role, your decisions, and your daily interactions contribute to a culture where all students can succeed. Here to facilitate this experience is Dr. Michael Rovito, Associate Professor in the Department of Health Sciences. Please join me in welcoming Michael Rovito.
Good morning. Appreciate this space. Thank you, Dr. Guzman, Dr. Andrews, for inviting me here to facilitate this segment in the morning. This is just my words and my interpretation when I was asked to do this, but this symposium, according to me, and I think hopefully everybody here, the symposium posits that academic excellence is not only something we measure or study, and I'm hearing some feedback. It's something that we experience. Me being an undergraduate, graduate, PhD candidate, faculty for nearly 20 years, sometimes it goes beyond the measurement and it goes beyond the research study. It's a lived experience. So when I was asked to do this, I really reflected upon that. And some of these words I'm going to be speaking comes from my experience. So thank you all for joining us today, and Andrew. So what to expect out of this session? I'm sorry, we're getting some feedback here. Do you hear that too? Okay. So the first thing that I think that we should probably expect out of this session is an exploration of innovative practices, scholarship, and also strategies that support learning and academic excellence, of course. I think it's a complementary perspective of faculty and administration reporting of academic success vis-a-vis the student voice. And I think that a lot of times in these kind of environments, we kind of lose that. The students are why we're here. And I think we forget that many, many times. All the grants we're submitting and all the publishing, all the publications, it's all because of the students. That's why we're here. And we can't forget that. So the student voice is very, very important. In this session, you're going to hear from some students who will share some short reels of their academic journeys. This session, again, according to me, isn't about best practices in some abstract form either. It's about listening carefully and to these individuals and their lived experiences that actually change their trajectories. It's their experiences walking through their curriculum and their life here at UCF that has changed where they're going to be in life. These individuals, they're not representative really of everybody's experience either. We got to keep note of that. They're case studies, great case studies, but they're case studies, and it's up to the audience, all of us, to pick up on patterns and potential implications for student success. what did they do to get to this point? As we listen, I encourage you to do two things. Don't just ask yourself, what did a student do right? Of course, ask yourself that, but also ask, what did the institution, so us as part of UCF, what did we do or not do to help them make this possible? We're all kind of complicit in this success story, so if you only celebrate examples of resilience, we risk ignoring what made resilience possible in the first place. Also, the second thing I'm going to ask you to do is make sure to write down 3 things or something that you can do to foster resilience among your students and whoever you're working with. All the students that are sitting in our classroom seats or that you advise or that you interact with, you got to figure out what you can do to kind of extract that excellence out. It truly does make a village. I benefited from the words and actions of so many great mentors and staff that it would not be possible to even do any of this stuff without them. So we got to remember that. So it's my pleasure to introduce the first speaker, Beatrix Alerte.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Beatrix Alerte. I am currently a senior here at UCF, majoring in communications, and I'm also a transfer student from Miami-Dade College. Okay, there we go. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Beatrix Alerte, and I am a transfer student. I transferred to UCF spring of 2024, and honestly, when I transferred here, I was a bit nervous as I felt like I'm coming to UCF in the middle of the academic year, and I honestly made it a purpose of mine to get myself into the community and culture of UCF, and that really started with me finding all the student support offices here on campus and seeing what they had to provide and talking to the people who are working there and just being knowledgeable of what's available on this campus because there's so much and so many. And honestly, I started finding my spaces and finding those mentors to help guide me through this process of just being at a big university, finally getting into your major, because when you're getting into your major, you are now able to start weeding out what you dislike, what you like, and things that you didn't even think were possible for you. And honestly, just going through my courses and actually learning from my professors, that is something that really inspired me to continue going on my communications path because it's so broad and you could do so many. And I really believe that my professors helped me narrow those opportunities to figure out what is it exactly that I want to do. And I just want to share that with you guys. You guys all do such a great job working with the students and just taking your time and speaking with them. And if I were to give some advice to help students become more, to maximize all their opportunities throughout their undergraduate years, is have them start thinking how can they do that next step with what they have here at UCF. Because you don't get into your career once you graduate. We have this big campus with so many ways to get involved in things that will be transferable skills to your career. And that's honestly what I've started doing. And I know I want to work in sports and community engagement. So I made it a very active purpose for me to start volunteering in local Orlando sports teams, clubs, and just getting myself engaged in that way. So honestly, having students figure out what is it that they want and have them actively volunteering in that position. Because when you're really passionate about something, you could really continue on and just continue doing it. And when it comes to UCF last year, I started applying myself a bit to more things that I probably didn't think that would be on my path. I participated in research, the Amy Zen Student Showcase, and that was my first time ever doing research. It was because I was in a high impact class, And that was something that was new to me. And I was in a service learning class. And that experience was truly amazing because even though service was a part of the course, but alongside with our assignments, we had to conduct deep reflections to understand what is it that we're doing, what impact can it cause, and how can we make sure like we're sharing these opportunities with our fellow peers, and how can we continue doing it after the course is done. So being in that service learning class really opened my eyes to research because as a communication major, I really thought research was more STEM based, honestly. And I didn't think that was a space for me. But honestly, my professors, they really helped me guide it. My professor, Dr. Jonathan, he's right there. You can raise your hand. Right? I took him for research and he was honestly a very supportive and just helped me think like, what is it that I want to talk about and what am I very passionate about? Because what you're passionate about, it's something that other people are probably passionate about, but no one has said anything yet. So it's always important to take that first step and put your passions forward. And as I've got more involved in that research, it was just really a great experience. And I continued with the high impact. Over the summer, I entered abroad in Costa Rica. And that was truly an amazing experience, just immersing myself in another culture and just doing what I do here with marketing, but understanding how that works on a global perspective. And it really helps me out in my work today because now I can understand like how can I include other people and make sure I'm reaching different target audience and that we are having a successful experience, a successful event, and also just meeting all my other peers through these internships. We all had different majors and we were working on a main project, and that really brought us together because we all had something different, but we were able to just put something so beautiful together. And honestly, those experiential learning experiences are something that really brings you beyond the classroom. And I feel like it's 10 times better when you match it with the class theories that you learn, the content that you have. And yeah, so honestly, being here at UCF has been an amazing journey for me as someone who transferred here. I feel like I really maximize my time here. And I really, again, just really advise when you guys speak to students, sometimes they have it in them, but they just don't see it for themselves. So just allow them to filter out and weed out the things that they think they want to do. Just tell them, go try it, go volunteer, go shadow. Are honestly the greatest ways to find out what is it that you want to do. And that change is okay because you might find out you actually don't like it. And the earlier you find that out it'll be the best thing to happen. Guys.
Beatrix, I was just asked, what's one thing as a transfer student that you think faculty and staff should understand about your journey?
Okay. As a transfer student, I can honestly say that it may feel a bit intimidating as the class sizes are more larger. Like from community college, you know that you have a more intimate, like you could speak for about 10 minutes after class with your professor because there's not as many students. And that might feel intimidating because like there's a long line of students just waiting to ask those questions. And also as a transfer student, just probably feeling like it's too late, like you missed out opportunities, the fear of missing out, honestly. But whichever path you jump in is just, it really matters on how intentional the student is, but oftentimes they might not know. So just again, having those resources available and having the students try to get involved in like 3 ways. What way can they get involved in a mentorship group, a professional organization on campus? What way can they get involved socially with something that they're personally interested in? Because that's always important to have people that share the same hobbies as you. And then following that, something within your major because mentorship could really take you a long way with people who walked in the footsteps you're about to take.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, Austin Wilson.
Thank you so much. I'll also do the podium.
Real quick, as we are waiting, I just wanted to ask, because I know you're learning a lot about us up here, how many of you are faculty? Can you raise your hand? Okay, and then how many are staff? Awesome. Okay, I just want to kind of get a sense of the room to kind of, tweak maybe what I'm saying, but the start of what I have to say is I would not be here as a student at UCF formerly and now as an employee without both faculty and staff. So first, thank you all for what you all do. Can you give yourselves a round of applause real quick? And it's really exciting to look around the room and see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of faces that I've seen only online, in the Hollywood squares. So I'm excited to see you all in this room. I'm really looking forward to sharing my night reel. You definitely know that this panel is mostly Gen Z because reels are, how many of you like Instagram reels on social media? Okay, see, but us on the panel would probably all raise our hands because, we are accustomed to doom scrolling on Instagram. So I'm really excited though to just have the chance to talk with you today about my UCF experience. For those of you who know me, my name's Austin Wilson. I am a double major. I got my undergrad here at UCF in political science and also a degree in criminal justice when I was here at the university. And then additionally, I had the privilege to recently get my master's in public administration from UCF too. And so, So I'm really excited, and welcome Andrew to the stage, really excited to be able to share with you where that all started, because for some of you who do not know, I actually started out as a biomedical science major. And that is pretty shocking for what I do now when it comes to government relations. I came to UCF with the intent of doing biomedical sciences. I joke because I've watched way too much Grey's Anatomy, and I thought I could endure those 13 years of schooling. But it wasn't until my freshman year that I took Chemistry 1B. I won't name the professor because he's actually still here and he and I are actually good friends now, but that class was very grueling to me. And the curriculum and the concepts, it wasn't organic chemistry fortunately, but the concepts that we were learning was something that really, when I was going back to my dorm room, I really had to consider, is this really what I want to do? For the rest of my life. And I think that's really cool. What you all have the ability to do is you shape the trajectory of students' lives. We come in here with an idea of this is what I want to do, when I step onto campus. When we step onto the Pegasus Steel, it might be totally different from what we're actually going to do professionally. And so one of the things I would say in terms of what most impacted me was he was honest with what the curriculum was. He was honest with what the experience would be in the class. And so by having that at the forefront explained throughout the syllabus and just throughout the curriculum itself, it really allowed me to judge whether or not this was something I wanted to continue for 4 years at UCF. And so the reason I chose UCF actually, and hopefully I won't get booed by anyone in this audience, I actually had a deposit set for USF. And so thank you for not booing. Yeah, okay, you can, yes, as long as it didn't say UF, right? That would have gotten a lot more groans, I feel like. It wasn't until I came onto campus with my mom that I realized that UCF has something special. It's the community, it's the people that make this place what it is. And so I was really fortunate, the fact that we have a very large pond and a lot of options and choices in terms of courses. My freshman year, I was able to pivot, and I chose to study political science moving forward. And I was really grateful for my freshman year because I learned the fact that you can change your mind. You don't have to be necessarily set on a specific path. You're able to shape and change what you want to do, which is why I'm so grateful for what UCF is doing now when it comes to, as we talked about, high impact practices. Those were not as prevalent when I was a student. So now to be able to see as more of an employee, I support our Legislative Scholars Internship Program where we send students off to Tallahassee, and to just see students in the application for either that program or for the President's Leadership Council, which I have the privilege to formally be a member of, but also now help select students for too, to see them have those experience of high impact practices. Not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous actually, because I really feel like that would have helped me figure out what I wanted to do a little bit earlier on in my journey. And so I really am grateful for what that team is doing here at the university, along with many others. I had the fortunate journey of being involved in a lot of different clubs and organizations in my undergrad. And so one of the things I would say is from your perch of being support system, whether you're a faculty or a staff member, is to definitely encourage students to get involved with the, I don't even know how many registered student organizations we now have. We had about 500 plus when I was a student. I'm sure there's a lot more. I was shocked that there was a Quidditch club. It was something I wanted to join, but unfortunately I did not have the time for. But I did join student government. And student government really was the pinnacle of my experience, where I was able to see other student leaders from their vantage points as well. I got to work with a lot of incredible agencies that we have supporting students, like the Student Union, the Recreation and Wellness Center, and so many others. And to just see it from the flip side, because as a student, you just use these services, right? You don't think of anything. You think, okay, my tuition's gonna pay for this, and this is something that is a benefit to me that I deserve. But what's incredible is the people behind that. The folks who either stay late so we're able to have study union during finals week, or the folks at the RWC who are allowed to open it up late so people can get a late night gym session or an early morning one. There's so many different departments. And at the time, one of the ones that impacted me in a good way as well when I was in student government was Mass at the time, which now has converted into what we see today with the Ginsburg Center as well. And those individuals that I got to meet was really incredible, to the Student Success Conference that I got to participate, which if you ever have a chance to, send your students or advise them to do conferences, whether they're, at UCF. Fortunately, I didn't have a chance to do a study abroad and go to Costa Rica. That would have been a really cool opportunity. But whether they're in Orlando or beyond, definitely encourage them, because I think folks think they have a lot more time at the university than they actually do. And so definitely they should take advantage of every single opportunity, even if they lose a little bit more sleep over it because they might be studying for a later test. I'm only allowed to say that because not as many faculty raised their hand. Hopefully staff also know what I mean by that. And so I was really grateful for my UCF journey in my undergrad. And it was a very different dichotomy than what I experienced when I did graduate finally and I entered my graduate program. I had the privilege, because of the connections I made, meeting some individuals at the university, to stay in the Office of Government Community Relations as a student assistant. And so it wasn't until I graduated that they just removed the name student from my title. And I was an assistant in the office for a couple months before I had the privilege to kind of move a little bit more forward. And that's when I decided, being here at UCF, having the ability to do so many different things is one of the biggest fortunate things I think students can do. And so that is why I then decided, like many of you probably, to take advantage of that employee tuition waiver to be able to get my graduate degree. And that was, I would say, a very different experience, because when you're a student in undergrad, you think all the time in the world, right? And so then to flip that now to be someone who's a professional staff member and to have to also deal with taking classes. My first year, I know she's going to get a shout out, I think, later as well, but I took Dr. Concha's class for public administration. That was my first nighttime class. I was very fortunate that she was a really easy professor when it came to allowing us to do our curriculum together as groups. So it wasn't like you were isolated in the evening by yourself, learning from her. She really focused on that group effort and group work. And so that was something that was really nice, because I felt, in graduate school, of course, your courses are a little bit, smaller. And so to be able to know my peers a little bit more and to find out the jobs that they're doing outside of the coursework was also something that I really appreciated, because I was able to really build my network with that. And so graduate school was very different because it was mostly online. How many of you have taken online classes before? Raise your hand. Okay, yeah. So it was a different experience than your in-person experience. But what I will say is that doesn't mean just because you're behind a screen that you lose that interaction. The ability to have office hours, the ability to interact with your professors that way is definitely an asset that I encourage from either your vantage point as a staff member or faculty member to really push to folks to do, because it's something that I didn't do as much. And so my graduate program, I feel like, did actually really fly by. I finished and I got my master's in public administration last August, even doing only 2 classes. but it felt like it was a whirlwind experience. So I always get asked, am I going to go for a PhD? I'm not sure. I know it's a grueling process as well, but one of the things that I love at UCF is there's just always endless opportunities for you to continue to grow and move, whether that's from a student perspective with all the exciting things that are happening when it comes to the experiential learning opportunities that students are now receiving, or whether it's as a staff member and having the ability, to get your education that way. So all this is to say, I'm grateful that I'm no longer, having that inclination to ever become a bull. I'm really proud of my UCF journey, and the folks who are in this room and beyond have really been the pinnacle and the success of my experience. I'm only 25, but the fact that I've been able to do so much, I'm really grateful for. I hope I get to stay at UCF for a very long time. If you know Fred Kittinger, I work with him very closely. I joke that he's the unofficial mayor of Orlando, but he's been here at UCF for over 20 years, and I hope that I have the ability to also contribute to a journey as such, because UCF is such a special place, and we're only charging on to new beginnings. So I really appreciate your time. I'm excited to hear from my peers, and as always, go Knights. Charge on. Thank you.
All right, Austin. Said you changed majors, correct? No. Okay. All right. I'm always walk us through that thought exercise of changing majors, because I don't think we really pay attention to how stressful that could be for a student. Can you give us one piece of advice to staff and faculty on how to become more understanding of a student's perspective of changing majors?
I think one of the things that gets thrown around a lot is, what do you want to be when you grow up? I feel like I'm still a little bit young. And so that, I think, has a lot of labels and connotations, whether society has placed it on them or, just traditional norms. But I think what we really should be asking folks and students in general is, what do you want to do? Because I think those are two very different things. And so me realizing that I wanted to be in a profession that helped people, that of course has a full gambit of opportunities and choices. But when I realized I didn't want to do it in the medical context, that allowed me to kind of limit my, vision a little bit more. And then when I realized I wanted to do something that I didn't necessarily feel like was a struggle, and so being involved and being a fan of politics in that aspect, I think really propelled me to make the decision to do political science, I'd say.
Great, thank you. Our next speaker is Ketty Dones.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm sure my dog is very excited that I'm getting this over with, because I've been practicing with him the whole night, so he probably thinks I'm crazy. Today, I just want to take everyone throughout their journey. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently and want everyone to go ahead and close your eyes. We're going to think about your past, your present, and your future. So if you can, for a moment, just close your eyes and think back to your younger years. Maybe when you were in middle school, high school, you had your backpack on, walking through those really cold high school, middle school hallways. Were you going to your favorite classroom to see your favorite teacher, or maybe your least favorite subject? I know mine was math. Now, raise your hand if you knew back then that you'd be exactly where you are today. All right, now you can lower your hands and open your eyes up. As I figured, no one raised their hands, and that's exactly what I thought would happen. Life never goes as planned. I know my life didn't go as planned, especially when I was in middle school and high school. College was never part of my journey. It was actually probably the last thing on my mind. It wasn't because I thought I wasn't smart enough, but my SAT scores never got there. My GPA was almost there. I had some extracurriculars and a job, but all that to say, how was I ever going to make it financially? And even though I have parents that support me and love me no matter what, as a first-generation student, you also think, well, how do I even apply to college? How do I even get to the FAFSA application? Do I email UCF? What is the process? So I was indeed lacking all of that. So then when I finally got to step foot here at UCF as an undergraduate my freshman year, it was truly a foreign experience. I went from having my Cuban mom cook me home good meals every day to now I'm sharing a room with my roommate that I met on Facebook from Maryland. First time I ever met her in Libra Brevard Hall. I would not recommend that. And that was only one of my obstacles freshman year. But freshman and sophomore year are so pivotal to our development as students. We're not only going through so many changes. I only live 4 hours away, but I know that other students come from even different countries, different states, so far away from home. And it got to the point where I was also put on academic probation. And it wasn't because I lacked the ability. I truly think that I lacked the direction, the confidence, and the support. I still questioned, how did I get here? It was really hard learning to navigate life and some personal issues that I was struggling with. And what changed that for me, it wasn't the requirements that you have to do once you're placed on academic probation. It wasn't going to class more, and it wasn't raising my GPA. It was the UCF people. A lot of you guys that are in this room today, and specifically one person, I'm not sure if she's in here right now, Josefina Rosario. She's known me since I was 17, 18 years old before I even stepped foot in this campus. And one thing I always admired about her is that she never saw me for the situation I was currently in or what I was currently facing. She always saw me for where I was going. And that's something that you as faculty and staff see in students before we see it on ourselves. And that belief continued with me onto graduate school with my current supervisor, Dr. Concha. She's in the crowd here. When I told her I was speaking, she insisted to come, even though I said it was only 5 to 10 minutes. And that's something I always appreciate, is that she is always there for me. She motivates me professionally and intellectually, and something that I admire about her ever since I worked with her as a TA my first year of graduate school is that she allows us to make projects our own, which is such an important transition, especially when you're going from a student to becoming a professional. I know that my coworker, Rasha, and I'm speaking for her right now, but I know that we survived graduate school all thanks to Dr. Concha, and now she's on the journey of making her own initiative, the UCF Applied AI Innovation Initiative. We're all on this big, beautiful journey together, encountering with that. And all that to say is my story is not unique. These women treat all the students they encounter with the same kindness and compassion. And I know that all of you in the room today have made the same impact on a student, which always leads me to think, how do you guys do it apart from your day job? I mean, I would just be talking to students all day long. So I really want you to think about the reason you work here at UCF. It's not to send emails, and it's definitely not about lectures or the fact that we have to use Workday. It's the fact that you believe in education and uplifting students. For many of us, you're the first person to tell us that we belong here. You're the first person to challenge our way of thinking. I know I was definitely challenged to get up here and speak to you all in this room today. I know my life didn't go as planned. I obtained my master's degree this past December, which I never would have thought of doing, and especially not getting on probation this time. So I want you, when you go back to work, to think about all the students' lives that you've impacted and how many more you have to come. The work that you truly do is exceptional, and that's why it becomes so hard to leave UCF. I know that you've all made an impact on me today by showing up here and listening to what I had to say. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ketty. Can you just speak briefly about what I've heard? They're all in the audience, I think. Can you just speak a little bit more to the power of personal relationships that help you get to where you're going? No, but as a first, how did the power of those relationships?
Hello? Okay, perfect. As a first generation, I definitely grew up understanding that relationships are very important. My parents came from Cuba with me when I was only 2 years old, and we left all of our family behind. So growing up, I didn't have family, and my parents always had personal relationships with either friends or people in their circle. And I think that's what kind of led me to have the same idea when I came to college. I honestly don't know how I ended up at the mass office or ended up in Josefina's office, but she still let me in there and I trusted her. I don't know how it ended up happening, but all of that to say that building those personal relationships gives you a sense of belonging, especially as a first generation when you're away from your family, when you're in something completely new. And those relationships allow you to think that you're actually worthy, not only in an academic standpoint, but also in a personal standpoint. And that's really what gives you the fuel to go on to grad school. And now that I'm at Josefina, I thought, well, I've heard of this Dr. Concha. Actually, Austin was the person that told me about Dr. Concha and how I should reach out to her to get more involved. So it really is about putting yourself out there and allowing those relationships to be in your life.
Fantastic, thank you. Our next speaker is Andrew Cherico.
Morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Firstly, I'd just like to get a round of applause for my panelists along up here with me. Excellent job. I will say, excuse the abrupt entrance that I had. Great job, Austin. But that's a part of the daily challenges and life experiences that I have is to have a plan B, but more importantly, stick with the plan and persevere through it. I was best prepared if that wasn't able to work. Get in front of everybody at the bottom of the stage and speak to you all. But for great staff and quick thinkers, you were able to get me up here. So first thing I would like to do, I want to invite everybody to an exercise. If you're able to, I would like you all to please. Won't be too long. Now you may all sit down. Trust me, that wasn't pointless. I'm making you go up and down for no reason. But the reason why I say that is because I haven't been able to do that exercise since the age of 9 years old. That is when I became non-ambulatory and fully moved into my wheelchair. I was diagnosed with a neuromuscular disability called spinal muscular atrophy type 3. I was diagnosed at 2.5 years old. And doctors told my mom when I was younger I wouldn't live past a certain age. Knowing that was difficult on all of us. I wasn't thinking at that time, so I didn't really know of it, but my parents were concerned for my future, what would be happening. I'm from New York, Washington Heights, New York, small uptown community in Manhattan. I would say, I'm from a Dominican background, so I grew up in a small Dominican household where my mom didn't go to college. So getting a college degree and education was always most important. And growing up, I just faced many confidence issues, self-morale, not knowing how I'm going to go about the daily challenges in my life. I have challenges going to the bathroom. I have challenges getting into bed, challenges navigating everyday experiences like this lift. But at the end, still make it work. And we try to put our best foot forward and take advantage of every opportunity. And me coming to UCF, that's exactly what my plan is. Growing up, if any of you know sports, I'm a huge New York Jets fan, and that's not a good thing. It's not. It's not at all. But growing up, due to my inability to play, I wanted to be Tom Brady growing up. I wanted to be Michael Jordan, but I knew that wouldn't be in my future. But my love for sports never went away. Matter of fact, it made me love it more because I couldn't attain. But rather so, I actually wanted to pursue watching sports and talking. I love to talk. That is why I'm up here today. If I wasn't good at talking, I wouldn't be here. I love to talk and I love watching sports. So I said, what fits? I can watch, talk, and write about sports. That is currently what I'm doing today. I'm a sports journalist, and that wouldn't have been possible had I not pursued my passion and my dream here at UCF. Growing up, I didn't know what would be in my future. I went to high school and I didn't decide on UCF till the very end of the selection period for my senior year. I took actually a gap semester coming here because I was so undecided on my future. I made a huge move down to Orlando with my parents, thankfully, for but without them, I wouldn't have been able to make that change. And when I got here, it was like such an open experience. There was so many possibilities, so many doors I can go. Because growing up in New York, you might think like, oh, there's so many things, bright lights, many people to meet, but it kind of feel like you feel like isolated in a way where it's so big that you don't really know what to do. But here is so welcoming, and that's the first experience I got. My first day on campus here at UCF, I hadn't toured before I came here. I just knew the sports was good. I like Orlando weather for the most part. It's been cold. And this was something I wanted to pursue. And I get to campus, and the first thing I do is I want to go everywhere on this campus. Dedicate the entire day to traveling around campus, and find a new place. I go around and I go into the second floor of the studio. I see a big Pac-Man symbol. I love video games. I'm like, oh, video games. And then I go into the office, and it so happens to be OSI / the Ginsburg Center. I'm like, this isn't video games. But I was welcomed with open arms. That was what's most important because little did I know that would be the reason why I am here today. I have created so many genuine connections. As somebody who didn't know what their future would entail, as staff, I rely on you. Students like me rely on you to know that their future will be okay. Just a few of the people I've met over time, Dr. Paul Pierre-Louis, Ms. Josefina, Dr. Andrews, Dr. Guzman. These are people who I've been able to rely on and speak with daily, day in and day out. I am now a student assistant in the Ginsburg Center, and I work 2 jobs doing journalism. I work for CBS Sports, and that's 24/7, and Sons of UCF. And I also do writing for the Orlando Magic. And being able to pursue those opportunities wouldn't have been without a strong support group. I went to a game. I started writing things. I wrote to myself on social media for like a month. I had like no views. When I got like 1 like, I was the most ecstatic person. Like someone saw something. And then over time, it just built consistency. But me being able to go into an office like the Ginsburg Center and spend time with other students, find students who like sports, talk about it. That's why I got one of my ends as well, was one of my friends was involved in journalism, being at UCF. Being able to spend my time with them, spend time with staff and have their support, knowing that I'm taking full-time classes as a student. I'm doing 3 jobs and I'm pursuing other opportunities. Like I've got involved with Greek life. I get involved with speaking engagement, advocacy opportunities. I speak around the country, especially during the summer. I have more time. Class gets busy very fast. But being able to rely on staff for those opportunities what has opened my door, because college, I learned, is what you make of it. Not every opportunity is there, but you need to go and chase it. Not everybody's going to come straight to your face and say, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? You have to expand your opportunities, go reach out to people, make connections, because here's people I know who go to college every day, then go back home, go to class, go back home. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're pursuing their degree, they're making the future they have. But as somebody with a disability, I challenge myself. I don't want to be limited to the opportunities I have because of my disability. So I kind of have a bias now. Whenever somebody says something new or do you want to do this, I kind of challenge myself to say yes, because I want to say, I'm not going to say no just because I have a disability. I'm like, yes, I want to do that. Even if it's something obscene, like I'll go skydiving one day. Maybe. But basically what I'm trying to get at is what you want to pursue and what you want to do, you kind of have to go through. But that isn't by your lonesome. That is with the support of all of you. I know that a lot of you spend times in offices writing emails, taking phone calls, but what you don't see is that a school of thriving students like myself and my panelists over to the left of me that are thriving because of all your success and the positions that you put us in, because I'm not quite sure where I would be without UCF. I have had so many opportunities. And if I got the opportunity to talk to my young self, I would think you'll be all right, Andrew. Because growing up with a disability, you don't know what's in your future. You don't know what your life expectancy is. You don't know what the final outcome could be. But knowing that I have all of your support, that's what makes me able to pursue my dream, hopefully pursue and inspire others. That's all I have. Kind of like the list.
Well, you seem to embody resilience, and I was wondering, and this is my own selfishness coming out here, I was wondering if you could share with us at least one tip on how to foster our own resilience.
Resilience is kind of, like I said, I do speak. You guys hear me? Okay, there we go. Perseverance and adversity is something I've dealt with my entire life. It's something that you don't really escape. It just happens. And I've always had this saying, this was from my late brother as well. What defines us is how well we rise after falling. None of us are defined by who we are when we're successful and everything is going right in our life. But when we get hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and get back up. And that's what defines us as people. Knowing your purpose is what's been important to me. Like I said, I have a strong foundation. My family, my mom, I'm inspired to graduate college and pursue my dream because of her. So knowing your purpose, staying grounded, and knowing you have a strong support staff, that you're not battling your battles alone. You're not fighting your battles alone, excuse me. You're not fighting your battles alone, and you're able to persevere and see through to the end. That's what inspires me to keep going, because there's many times that I could have given up or said, I just want to stay home and play video games all day, which I still do sometimes. But there's days that you want to be able to get up and attack the day with your best fight and be able to truly live out your potential, change somebody's day, inspire somebody, just get a little bit better each day. I also heard a quote recently, life isn't about always hitting home runs, but getting on base is just okay. And if you can attack every day with that mentality, you'll be quite all right.
Right on. I heard so much. It's fantastic stuff. Some themes that I kind of got out of this, and maybe it's different from what y'all got out of it, but I'm seeing that help seeking is contextual. It's part personality, but it's largely environmental. Again, we play a huge role in the success of these students and future ones and past. I do think it's about permission, though. Permission is seek help. Are we fostering that? Are we allowing them to do that? Are we looking down upon people that seem to be a little bit lost, and are we passing judgment upon that? Because no one has it all figured out. Are we giving permission for them to feel belonging? Like, are we allowing them to kind of feel that they belong with them? But with us, even weird language to use. Also, are we allowing them to have the permission to not have it all figured out and be okay with that? Because again, as Teddy, you did that exercise about figuring, no one knows. Sitting here, no one knew anything about wherever you're going to be. It's okay, and are we allowing people to feel that way and be comfortable with that? I'm also, I kind of picked up that belonging precedes success. I think belonging is one of the conditions that allows success to happen. And if you have people in front of you and you don't make them feel belonging, like they belong there, then what chance do they really have? The other things that I picked out was maybe it's not a program or one lesson, or it could be, but maybe it's not generally that. Maybe it's just having the students being seen, recognizing that humanity and saying, you know what, you're here and I see that. I see you, and having that kind of personal relationship, which I found across all of these 4 individuals. Perhaps it's access and invitation. I guess for most of us, and definitely for me, someone was there to help allow me to make that next step and make it possible for me to do whatever I was doing. And I think for them as well. Someone was there to not just provide the access, but provide that personal invitation. I think that's really important to kind of keep note of. But other than that, I appreciate y'all's time and your time too for coming out and listening. I want to thank the panelists for sharing their experiences so thoughtfully, personally too. I think that you remind us all that academic excellence is built through challenge and support, meaningful relationships, of course, and a commitment to excellence and being successful. I think this discussion definitely reinforced the concept that learning is shaped by the environment we create and the people who invest in student success. I just want to thank you again. And if you could share me or join me in giving a round of applause to them, I'd greatly appreciate that. Dr. Guzman will be happy to know that we're ahead of schedule. And if there's any questions from the audience, we'd be glad to take those about it. Any one of the panelists here? There's
Good morning. My favorite parts about things like this is the student panelists. So I want to thank each of you for sharing your stories. My name is Monique Carter. I'm the Associate Director over in the UCF Online Connect Center. And many of you mentioned some of the reasons that success coaching came about here. So Ketty, when you were mentioning navigating the process, and Beatrice, when you were mentioning just that sense of belonging and mentorship. And you also mentioned, Austin, about your online experience. And then you as well, Andrew, when you were just talking about that resilience. So would you all, when you think about the online night, experiencing UCF through your eyes, and knowing that they are kind of restricted from campus space, what suggestions would you have for the online student to find that sense of belonging?
Good morning. Thank you for your question. I feel uniquely qualified to take this question because my first semester, when I did take that gap year, I proceeded to go to take UCF online afterwards. And I didn't feel isolated in any way because I was consistently in contact with my peer mentors, peer coaches online. I was involved in the orientation, so I learned about resources like Night Connect, where they have online groups, where they have weekly Zoom meetings or weekly meetups online to pursue whatever you're interested in, because we all know here at UCF there's a club for quite literally everything that you want to achieve. So knowing that you have the staff resources online as well as in person, that was a great benefit to me, because there was times where I would feel like, oh, I was like by myself because I was still living in New York, so I was like taking my classes online and closing my laptop. But as soon as I opened it back up and started navigating the resources that UCF had online, like even the library system, connecting with orgs and connecting with clubs, that was a big benefit. And I think that was strongly due to letting those resources be known. When I got those emails, when I connected my UCF email, I got notifications like, oh, we have a peer mentor for you to talk to. We have a night coach. We have an advisor for you to speak with. So I didn't feel isolated throughout my process.
I'll also add on to that. I'll say the C word, COVID, but also convenience. I think online education has really changed once we came out of the pandemic, because we realized the opportunities that exist with it. You know, folks choose to do online, like myself when I was in my graduate program, for the professional convenience, right? Because I couldn't do it during the actual working day, 9 to 5. And then you have also those who choose online for distance. So I think not assuming why someone chooses online is kind of the first step we can take, and always make sure that we're still putting out the opportunities that might be coming from the Office of Student Involvement, that might be coming from other areas on campus, because there is a possibility that, you know, folks want still that in-person aspect. And so giving that to them first, but then also I think like kind of what you're alluding to as well is cultivating that online community of whether it's staff members or maybe it's one of those situations where you encourage your individuals, if they're classmates, or maybe if it's a different kind of subsection of folks, to come together maybe bi-weekly or even monthly to just get together to know each other virtually, because a lot of connection, as we all realized during the pandemic, could still happen behind the scene, right? Just because we were social distance doesn't mean we had to officially be distant from each other when it came to those interactions. So I think that's something that I would encourage is access to still what's happening at the university, because they still want to feel part of that community.
I would also add on just allowing your personality as a professor to shine through online. Like I'm currently in a music business class, and my professor, even though the PowerPoint is there, our articles that we have to read for the week is there, takes the time and he curates his own videos tailored to the specific module we're learning that week. And we can honestly tell that these videos are not like videos that have been repurposed for so many years, because he's including like current events, current topics. And that might be just an extra step, but that person makes a difference with him, like using current industry topics, people, to show how it connects to what we're learning that week about music business. So just taking the time to allow your personality to shine through, because some people are also, they're very visual learners and they might need to just hear your voice to match it with the text that they're reading. And that's an extra step that I'll say that'll probably help out.
Well, thank you all again. I appreciate that. Schedule? All right, cool. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. Thank you, panel.
Thank you, Dr. Revito, Beatrix, Austin, Ketty, Andrew. Can we give them another round of applause? I was jotting down some notes as they were speaking, and some of the things that sort of resonated or came to my mind was the intersectionality that they described, right? As either first gen and transfer, or traditional student and working, online, in person, low income, limited resource. There were so many intersections. And I think that's an important piece, because as we provide service to students, as we teach, as we guide and motivate them, we have to be aware that they have all of these different identities. And one approach doesn't work for every student. I kind of chuckled a couple of times because I too was first gen, and I always say, once you're first gen, you're always first gen. How many first gens in the room? Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about, right? Like there's this expectation that if you're first gen and then you get an undergrad, like you're no longer first gen. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. When you go to grad school, you're still first gen. When you're raising kids and trying to get them to college, people will say, well, why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? I don't know, because my parents didn't do it for me because I was first gen. Like once you're first gen, you're always first gen. So the assistance that our students need goes beyond the undergraduate experience. It goes beyond the first year to second year. So making sure that we don't make the assumption that once they make it to graduate school, that they have it all figured out. Because just as Getty pointed out, none of us really expect it to be where we're at today. So I jotted down, they need us to teach. They need us to provide service, motivation, encouragement. They need our support. They need us to hold them accountable. They need us to remove barriers. They need us to share opportunities. They need us to notice them. One of the things that Dr. Revito mentioned was they need to feel like they belong. And that also resonated with me because oftentimes we talk about that. Oh, the sense of belonging, making sure that we have a culture and sense of belonging. But what does sense of belonging actually mean? Is it just inviting somebody in? Think about it. What do you think sense of belonging means? Anybody? Yes. I like that. It's not just a welcome. It takes more than that. Anybody else? Yes. I like that too. You can be yourself, that there's a level of comfort, there's intentionality in how you're welcoming somebody in, and there's consistency in that. Anyone else? Maybe this side of the room? Yeah, that there, you can say what's on your mind, right? And it's a safe space to do that. These are all so important. I can think of so many times where I didn't have that sense of belonging, but there is one situation that I remember till this very day that really epitomized sense of belonging for me. I'm an introvert. A lot of people don't realize that because I do a lot of public speaking. It actually takes a lot for me to do public speaking. But I had an invitation to attend a Lebanese wedding. And the Lebanese wedding has, this particular individual had more than one day for their wedding. She really wanted me to be there. And I was really nervous. My parents are Puerto Rican, and I grew up in Detroit. And even though I knew quite a bit about Lebanese culture because Dearborn is a neighboring city to Detroit, and there's a high population of Lebanese individuals, I didn't think I would belong there. Like, I was very nervous about what would they think about me. From the minute I arrived, she had a group of people, not just to welcome me, but to take me over to where I was going to be seated, to introduce me to individuals. People who explained the food that was presented in front of me, people who took me onto the dance floor and showed me some of the dance moves so that I could participate with them. People who took me to her parents, people who took me to her. Like, I felt like I was a part of every aspect of that wedding during the time that I was there. So that is really what making an environment that feels belonging should look like. It's not just enough to say welcome and then go. It's not just enough to say, here's an opportunity and expect them to go after it. Because we've just heard from our students, sometimes they're afraid, sometimes they don't know if they can do it. It's not that they can't do it, they just don't know that they can. And so that's what we're here for, to really challenge them to be successful and to do those things that they didn't think they could do for them. As we move into the remainder of the morning, we're going to transition into a set of sessions that reflect the breadth of how student success shows up in practice across our institution. These sessions touch on safety and well-being, supporting students through key life transitions, high-impact teaching practices, accessible learning environments, and opportunities for reflection and dialogue, all essential components of academic excellence. I encourage you to choose a session that speaks to your role or one that stretches your perspective. I also ask that before leaving each session, including this one, that you take a few minutes to scan the QR code and complete a brief survey. So there's codes on your tables and there's codes up on the screen. I took it myself. It takes less than 3 minutes, I promise you. It's very easy, but your feedback helps us understand what's working, what's useful, and how we can continue to offer these opportunities and make them even stronger in the future. Lastly, I want to express my appreciation to all of you, both here and online, for investing your time and energy today. Kathy asked, why do we do it? And I think all of us would agree we do it because of them, the students. Thank you to our presenters for sharing their expertise, and thank you to the staff and student workers behind the scenes who made today possible, from planning and logistics to technology and hospitality. Your work is essential and deeply appreciated. Enjoy your breakout sessions, and I hope to see you back here for lunch and our second featured session entitled, I Don't Agree, Civility in Practice. Thank you and enjoy your morning.